Yo, my picks got absolutely cooked. All right, like the main card, especially. Like I don't think I got that many fights right. But still, these were very fun fights to watch. I mean, where do we start? Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown. I gotta admit it. I doubted Gabriel Bonfim for the longest time, but he really put a statement in this performance. All right, even though Randy Brown isn't exactly ranked opposition, like there's an argument where Randy Brown could be ranked opposition, considering how his last fight with Brian Battle went, how he slept Nicholas Dalby out cold. Like Randy Brown's been on a little bit of a streak. And Gabriel Bonfim, on the other hand, many people can argue that he didn't beat Wonderboy Thompson. He had a very stinky performance. I thought Stephen Wonderboy Thompson should have beat Gabriel Bonfim at the time, but it seems like Gabriel Bonfim is a really good striker. All right, and just because you're getting outstruck by Wonderboy, don't make you a fraud. Because Gabriel Bonfim was doing a very good job of picking apart Randy Brown. He did this very interesting thing where he pulled Randy Brown's jab, and then he would time the calf kick at the end as soon as Randy Brown stopped advancing. It was a very good game plan from him. You could see Randy Brown's calf swelling up, and eventually Randy Brown started to kind of slow down. And he started whiffing a lot of punches because he kept trying to overload because he couldn't really stand on his calf all that well because Gabriel Bonfim kind of popped it up like a balloon. But it was a very good fight from Gabriel Bonfim. And towards the end of the second round, he timed a beautiful knee. Randy Brown's trying to roll with the punches. Gabriel Bonfim gets the tie clinch, shoves a knee up the middle, and down goes Randy Brown. I will say it was a little bit of a weird stoppage, but considering how Randy Brown fell, and I don't think he really could have done anything in that situation. I don't blame Mark Smith. Should you have given Randy Brown the chance? Yes, because Randy Brown's been in those situations a lot. I mean, like he's kind of known for like going through adversity at times. Even though he hasn't really come out of it like the best, but still, like I do think you should have given Randy Brown more of a chance to try and defend himself. But I can't blame Mark Smith because watching the live replay, you could see Randy Brown stiff up, and I think the only reason he was able to wake up was because he hit the back of his head on the canvas as he fell down. So this is a clean win from Gabriel Bonfim, in my opinion. I've been disrespecting the man for a while. I apologize for that, and I can't wait to see Gabriel Bonfim fight because even though he had that stinky performance with Wonderboy, in hindsight, not everybody can be Shavkat Rakhmonov and submit Wonderboy Thompson. So congrats to Gabriel Bonfim, and he's gonna get a good jump up in competition pretty soon. All right, now moving on, we got Matt Schnell versus Joseph Morales. Nothing much to say about this fight. Joseph Morales was dominating Matt Schnell in the grappling. I think he was just finding his shots on the feet. Matt Schnell, he wasn't getting chin. Right, Joseph Morales couldn't find Matt Schnell's chin. But hey, to be fair, he got the job done in the first round regardless. He took Matt Schnell down and then was able to get a Kimura lock, from the Kimura lock transitioning to a crucifix. From the crucifix, as Matt Schnell's trying to scramble out, gets the guillotine and makes Matt Schnell tap. Right, it was a beautiful jiu-jitsu sequence, God knows I wish I could do that in jujitsu, but I don't. I just can't. But that was a very clean jujitsu sequence in order to get the guillotine submission. So yeah, great job from Joseph Morales. He hit the 6-7 right afterwards, so I'm definitely sure he's gonna get some level of promotion, seeing as how brain rotted most UFC fans are. But yeah, Joseph Morales is good. I don't think he made a call out. I think he was just talking about, oh, we gotta go to Sacramento. I guess. But yeah, it was a good win from Joseph Morales regardless. And I think he's actually going to be a pretty good prospect because outside of his loss to Davison Figueiredo, uh, I don't remember a time Joseph Morales has really lost. And since he's come back to the UFC, he's been looking pretty sharp out there. So yeah, congrats to Joseph Morales. and hopefully he fights pretty soon because he didn't really take that much damage to begin with. All right, now up next we got Muslim Salikhov versus Uros Medic. Yeah, this was a freaky fast knockout. All right, both guys were trying to feeling each other out on the feet, and then all of a sudden Uros Medic blitzes him down, I believe with the left hand, and just knocks out Muslim Salikhov out cold. I mean, there's nothing to say. Like one punch really did the trick. Muslim Salikhov couldn't really defend himself after getting clipped with the left hand, and I was very surprised by that. I thought that Muslim Salikhov was going to do a better job of keeping Uros Medic at range, but Uros Medic's timing was spot on this fight. And he was able to get into the pocket with Muslim Salikhov and ultimately knock him out, and then put him out with ground and pound shots right after. So Uros Medic got a freaky fast knockout, and I think he's on like a 3-fight win streak. I think so. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's like a 2-fight win streak. But either way, he's really turned it around since losing to Punahele Soriano. How good is Punahele Soriano and Mike Tibek Orabai? There's just levels to this, but it seems like Uros Medic, he knocked out somebody that could borderline be near the rankings of the welterweight division in Muslim Salikhov. So I think that was a good win for him. And I think he's back on track to try and make it into the rankings of the welterweight division. All right, now up next, we've got Chris Padilla versus Ismael Bonfim. Chris Padilla gets the job done. Ismael Bonfim, putting out his best Anthony Smith impression out there. And Chris Padilla was just able to outwork him and practically made Ismael Bonfim quit. Now, I will say the first round was pretty uneventful. Both guys were trying to check their range. Ismael Bonfim whiffing on shots. Chris Padilla just accumulating damage on the legs by leg kicking nonstop. But Chris Padilla really came out with a high fight IQ game plan because after Ismael Bonfim started to bite on the feints of leg kicks, he started to pound Ismael Bonfim upstairs and eventually get him against the cage. Ismael Bonfim forced to shoot a takedown, but Chris Padilla stuffs it and just throws some nasty elbows up top. And Ismael Bonfim unfortunately folds in that situation because think he took a lot of damage, and I don't think he was really looking to fight anytime soon. But yeah, congrats to Chris Padilla. I predicted him to get it done. I thought it was gonna be like later in the fight though, maybe like the third round or possibly a decision. But yeah, he did it a lot better than I thought. So congrats to Chris Padilla. He's back on a win, and I think he's gonna be looking like a pretty good prospect outside of the rankings of the lightweight division from here on out. All right, now up next we got Christian Leroy Duncan versus Marco Tulio. Man, I am devastated for Marco Tulio, man. Christian Leroy Duncan brutally knocks out Marco Tulio face first on the canvas in the second round. I mean, like, I can't even call it a fluke because throughout the entire fight, Christian Leroy Duncan was clipping Marco Tulio with a bunch of spinning attacks. And Marco Tulio, I don't think he really recovered after the first round because we've never seen Marco Tulio really have to force the grappling. But in this fight, he had to force the grappling in order to stop the onslaught of Christian Leroy Duncan. And Marco Tulio, he looked slower than when he fought Tresean Gore. Maybe it's because he fought Tresean Gore, but at the same time, I didn't see the same level of dynamic striking that I've seen in his fights, past fights at least. But to be fair, though, Christian Leroy Duncan's a lot faster than anybody Marco Tulio's technically fought. And the Christian Leroy Duncan's actually hits harder. He's also a lot more dynamic than anybody he's fought. So I guess that's fair. I do think Marco Tulio did look a little bit bad. However, I'm not going to take that away from Christian Leroy Duncan because I didn't think Duncan was going to win this fight in the first place. I thought Marco Tulio was going to be the more fundamentally sound fighter, but it didn't even look like that because Marco Tulio, the entire fight, seemed to be a little bit hesitant. I think he was a lot slower than CLD. So hats off to CLD. Used the Spinjitzu master move in order to win his fight against Marco Tulio. Hopefully Marco Tulio comes back. I don't know. He needs some time off though. That was a brutal knockout. But yeah, either way though, Christian Leroy Duncan, he's probably gonna get a ranked opponent soon after knocking out a very good prospect a Marco Tulio with the fashion that he did it in. All right, now up next, we got Hyder Amil versus Jamal Emmers. Again, another devastating fight result for me. Jamal Emmers gets the job done via grappling Hyder Amil. And yeah, it's just sad, man. Like the hype is dead. I remember a time when Hyder Emil was this elite level prospect. Actually, no, maybe not elite level prospect, but he was fun to watch. Like he made William Gomez have a fun fight, and I thought that was virtually impossible to do. But then Hyder Emil came, used mogged William Gomez, used his ironclad chin, and just walked down William Gomez for 3 rounds. I think that Hyder Emil's gone now. Jamal Emmers, I don't think he really pushed the insane pace, but Hyder Emil was gassed out. Now maybe it's because Jamal Emmers decided to grapple in this fight, and Hyder Emil's grappling hasn't been tested yet prior to this fight. But Jamal Emmers just seemed to be way better in the jiu-jitsu, and I think he was about to get a sub near the end of the third round, but there wasn't enough time. And outside of that, Jamal Emmers had his way with Hyder Emil on the ground. Very unfortunate. All right. I really wish that Hyder Emil won this fight, but unfortunately he didn't. I don't know where Hyder Emil goes from here. But as for Jamal Emmers, solid win. I didn't think he was gonna do it, nor did I think he was gonna do it in the fashion that he did it in. But Jamal Emmers gets it done via grappling decision, which I didn't honestly expect. All right, now moving on, we got Ricky Simone versus Raoni Barcelos. I can argue that this was a robbery. I thought that Ricky Simone did enough to win the first 2 rounds, but I'm not gonna complain that much. All right. Now, round one, I thought Ricky Simone clearly won. Knocked down Jaime Barcelos. Nasty ground and pound shots. I'm surprised Jaime Barcelos didn't get knocked out this fight. All right, I will say that. Round two, a little bit close, but at the same time, I thought that Ricky Simone was landing the more damaging shots. It's just the fact that Jaime Barcelos all of a sudden has an ironclad chin for some reason. So Ricky Simone just couldn't knock him out. And the third round, again, it was a little bit close, but at the same time, I think Hani Barcelos was starting to pick apart Ricky Simone as Ricky Simone started to slow down, and Hani Barcelos was able to land the more accurate shots. It was a very solid fight, regardless. And I'm not gonna be mad if you say that Hani Barcelos clearly won because he was landing the more accurate shots throughout the fight. I'm actually surprised that Umar Nurmagomedov knocked out Hani Barcelos. Right? Maybe Umar Nurmagomedov just way faster than nearly any other bantamweight on the roster. Because I don't think it's a power thing. Like Ricky Simon, I think hits harder than Umar Nurmagomedov, but it's just the fact that Umar Nurmagomedov knocked out Hani Barcelos with the right hand, which is why I thought that Hani Barcelos had a cooked chin. Well, no, that's not the case. Hani Barcelos is tough. I think Hani Barcelos definitely deserves a ranked opponent after this. Uh, Congrats to Hani Barcelos. I do feel like Ricky Simon should have won that fight, but I'm not gonna complain about the result. Hani Barcelos gets it done. 29-28 decision. It was a good fight regardless. All right, now moving on, we got Mayra Bueno Silva versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I'm not gonna bother breaking this fight down. All right, Jacqueline Cavalcanti just beat the crap out of Mayra Bueno Silva. I'm gonna talk about how Mayra Bueno Silva is making the bantamweight division look terrible because last year on UFC 297, this bitch somehow challenged for the UFC women's bantamweight belt. How? I don't understand how she even made it to the belt. All right. How did she even get herself in the top five? Because I don't think Mayra Bueno Silva should be even ranked level at this point. She doesn't do anything. And it's apparent in nearly every single one of her fights over the past 2 years, especially in this one, because she could not land anything against Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Jacqueline Cavalcanti just picked her apart for 3 rounds straight. And for someone who was a former title challenger, I expected a little bit more out of her, even though I didn't think that she was going to win in the first place. But yeah, Jacqueline Cavalcanti just destroyed Mayra Bueno Silva. This division is absolutely terrible for the fact that Mayra Bueno Silva was able to fight for a title not that long ago. And I can't believe that Mayra Bueno Silva's still signed. She's probably gonna get cut from the roster after this. Maybe they'll give her one more fight, but I don't think it's gonna be an easy fight. But as for Jacqueline Cavalcanti, she's on a solid win streak now. We need you prospects in the women's bantamweight division. So if Jacqueline Cavalcanti can keep this up, all right, fair enough. Let's give her some high-ranking opponent. Hopefully she wins, and then we can get some life into the women's bantamweight division. All right, now moving on, we got Josh Hokit versus Max Gimenis. Josh Hokit is basically the heavyweight version of Chael Sonnen, except Josh Hokit isn't ridden with CTE. Josh Hokit actually can knock people out cold. Josh Hokit's a very entertaining fighter. Maxi Menes goes down in the first round because Josh Hokit just beat the crap out of him. He said, "Fuck your jujitsu, little bro. You're a fat blob at the end of the day, so I'm gonna knock you out unconscious. I'm not gonna go into your guard and play this bullshit jujitsu game." And Josh Hokit gets it done. Josh Hokit is going to be a legitimate prospect to be on the lookout for. He called out Walter Walker right after. It was a great call out the way he did it. I don't like the matchup, but who knows? Maybe Walter Walker can't get takedowns on Josh Hokit, and he's gonna have a hard time transitioning for heel hooks and stuff. But yeah, I think Josh Hokit's a prospect to be on the lookout for just because he's got some hands. He can wrestle when he needs to. He's got a solid fundamental wrestling base. So I think if we build Josh Hokit properly, I wouldn't be surprised if he challenges for like a top 5 spot or potentially a title shot within the next couple of years. But either way, it was a stellar performance from Josh Hokit. All right, now up next we got Tecia Pennington versus Denise Gomis. Now, Tecia Pennington refused to really throw anything that was impactful or meaningful. She just kind of sparred at range against Denise Gomis. Denise Gomis was the one actually landing stuff. It was a very terrible fight. I don't care to give a specific breakdown for this. Both of them, I don't know. This division is just dead. And the fact that either of them are ranked in the women's strawweight division really gives me no hopes for the strawweight division over the next few years, other than Fatima Klein, who's going to be fighting next week. But yeah, this division's awful for the fact that these two women are top 15 strawweights. I have nothing else to say. Denise Gomez gets the job done at least. All right, now up next we got Miles Johns versus Daniel Marcos. Daniel Marcos wins via submission. Something that I never thought I'd see. Daniel Marcos has been looking very mediocre throughout most of his fights, but it seems like he's come out with a refreshed sort of mindset and he's looking a lot better than before. His wrestling was surprisingly good. I didn't think he's going to be the one to shoot takedowns on Miles Johns. I thought Daniel Marcos was just going to be the one to land more accurately than Miles Johns. But it seems like Daniel Marcos really worked on his wrestling. His single legs were beautifully timed. He did a nice job of level changing and feinting the takedowns in order to throw the overhand right. And also for the fact that once Daniel Marcos was able to secure the back of Miles Johns, he sunk in a nasty rear naked choke and choked Miles Johns unconscious. All right. I didn't think that was going to happen. Daniel Marcos gets it done. I thought that he was going to win by decision, but he decided to choke out Miles Johns in front of his wife. Absolutely brutal. So congrats to Daniel Marcos. I think the hype is a little bit restored, all right? Even though there wasn't that much hype to begin with, I think he's a lot better than when he fought the likes of Montel Jackson, Davey Grant, all of those guys that he had a lot of stinky performances in. Well, yeah, congrats to Daniel Marcos, and it seems like he's refreshed and he's back for like a legitimate run for the title. And last but not least, we got Zachary Reese versus Jackson Mcvey. Not gonna lie, I thought that Zachary Reese was getting cooked out there, especially in the first round. Jackson Mcvey timed a nasty elbow up the top, and it gave Zachary Reese a deep cut. But in the second round, Zachary Reese started to implement heavy wrestling. He just nonstop chain wrestled. Jackson McVeigh eventually accepted bottom position, pulling guard, and then from there, Zachary Reese landed some nasty ground and pound. As Jackson McVeigh's trying to get back up, Zachary Reese times the back take, sinks in the rear naked choke, and makes Jackson McVeigh tap. All right, Zachary Reese. I will say though, he didn't look as good as I thought. But the fact that he was able to push through, hats off to him. I didn't think he was gonna do that as the fight progressed because typically Zachary Reese isn't like a round three type of guy, right? But Zachary Reese was able to really dig deep because he was losing this fight prior to getting the takedown and then submitting Jackson Mcvey via rear naked choke. But it showed me that Zachary Reese has grit, so hype is a little bit back. Right, he's not a complete fraud. Hopefully the UFC can give him some approachable matchups so we can build him up again. But yeah, Zachary's he's looking all right. Okay, that's gonna be it for today's video. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe so we can get this channel monetized. Otherwise, though, leave a comment down below what you guys thought of UFC Vegas 111 Gabriel Bonfim versus Randy Brown. Very good fight card. Not a lot of picks wrong, but it kind of happens, especially in the Apex cards, which, let's be honest, not many people really care about in the first place. Oh, yeah, solid fights on the lookout, especially for UFC 322. I can't wait for UFC 322. All right, thank God that's coming in next week. So yeah, other than that though, leave a comment down below what you guys thought, and outside of that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.